My name is Jeff. A few years ago, something very disturbing happened that caused me to give up using video chatting apps like Zoom forever. Back in college, some of my friends were pretty wild. One of the craziest was this guy named Frank. Frank partied harder than any of us and was also campus famous for pulling some pretty insane pranks. Honestly, the guy seemed emotionally screwed up, and I think he overcompensated by living life to the extreme. Frank and I fell out of touch right after graduation, and we hadn't spoken since. For that reason, I was surprised when one night out of the blue, I received a Zoom invitation from him. I clicked the Zoom link, and when the video window opened, instead of Frank, a man wearing a rubber devil mask was staring back at me. Assuming it was just Frank pulling one of his pranks, I told him to quit fooling around and take off the silly mask. The masked man shook his head slowly and said in a raspy, deep voice, "Do I look like Frank?" That red devil mask was corny as hell, but still, that voice sent a chill through me. Instead of listening to my gut that told me something was very off, I laughed off my discomfort and again demanded that Frank lose that mask. "I already told you, I'm not Frank." He said those words so calmingly and convincingly that I almost believed him. Still, I kept chuckling and asked, "Okay, if you aren't Frank, then who are you?" What he said next caused me to tense. "I'm Satan, of course." Instead of turning off the Zoom call, I did the opposite. I burst into laughter. I laughed so hard I almost fell off my seat. I thought it was a relief to hear Frank say something so outrageous. I felt as if he had just delivered the punchline to his prank, and now we could move on to catching up on old times. I was wrong. When I finally settled down, Frank was still wearing that rubber mask, still staring at me, waiting. Then he did the impossible. He topped his Satan remark with something even nuttier. Again, with that irritatingly calm voice, he said, "Jeff, I'm here to offer you $50,000 for your soul. Do you accept?" Back in college, Frank never knew when to quit with his practical jokes. And just like then, after a while it stops being funny and begins to get annoying. I was about to tell Frank to stop already when my iPhone chimed. It was the Cash App notification. "You have received a deposit of $50,000 from Hot Guy 1. I nearly dropped my phone. The deposit looked real. My mind began spinning. Would Frank go this far with a prank? Was he rich now? I told Frank I wasn't sure what was going on, but I would send the money back immediately. But before I could tap my phone, he said, "I told you, I'm not Frank." Then my phone chimed again. I looked at my screen and gasped. Another Cash App notice. Another $50,000 had been deposited into my account. I stared at the man in the rubber devil mask, suddenly not sure what to think. Suddenly, I was very scared. Even though I couldn't see his mouth, I could tell he was smiling at me. Then he said, "Last offer, Jeff. Your soul for $100,000. Take it or leave it. Do we have a deal?" My heart was racing now. Joke or no joke, I was completely creeped out. I wanted to shut my computer off, but for some reason I couldn't. I couldn't take my eyes off that stupid mask. I pleaded with him to cut it out. Enough was enough. "Please just take off that stupid mask, Frank." The man in the devil mask lunged at the screen and shouted, "I'm not Frank!" And all at once, my computer died, my phone went dead, and the lights in my room went out. I fled my bedroom and ran out of the house into the middle of the street. I slept in my car that night. When I checked my Cash App, the $100,000 was gone. A few weeks later, I worked up the courage to track down a number for Frank and call. Instead of reaching Frank, a woman claiming to be his mother answered. When I mentioned I was looking for Frank, her voice turned sad. 3 weeks earlier, Frank had committed suicide. It was the very same night I received that strange Zoom call. I'm not sure if the man in the mask was really Frank or I don't know what. What I am sure about is I'll never use Zoom again.